There's a place down the street where good friends meet. Why don't you come along? See a face that's new, share a point of view, or maybe sing a song. Life has many stories that you hear all the time. Two of them you'll hear today, that's yours and that's mine. But there's a third story that'll always be there. Just climb to the top of the stair. Life has many stories that you hear all the time. Two of them you'll hear today, that's yours and that's mine. But there's a third story that'll always be there. Just climb to the top of the stair. Climb to the top of the stair.
Hey, Harry, I think you're going to have to give Ellie and Byron some help. They're having an argument.
Oh, are they fighting?
No, not at least yet. Just look at this mess. Just look what he did.
Sure, as if I did it on purpose.
Let's see. What's wrong with it?
Well, don't make it worse, Harry.
Okay, sorry. Well, it looks like it's no good anymore, eh?
Not after he messed it up.
I told you before, I didn't mean to do it on purpose.
Sure. I shouldn't have lent it to you in the first place.
Here, let me try to fix it.
Forget it already.
Saying sorry sure won't help.
Sure would help me.
Yeah.
You guys are acting like little kids. Why fight over such a thing like this? Especially if it was an accident.
That's easy for you to say.
Hi, I'm Eunice Coker and I live in British Columbia. When somebody bothers me, I try not to let it get to me. I try to ignore them so it doesn't bother me. Something that people get into fights with is, like once in school, some of the boys, they broke all the girls' pencils, and so that could lead to trouble. Sometimes I have to go back to rooms when, if I didn't want to do some of the chores, like washing the dishes or something, and so I get mad, and then I have to come back and say sorry. When I forgive them, it makes me feel better so that I can go on and do my other things again. You say sorry so that you don't have that guilty feeling in you all the time. God is very close to me, and so that I can ask for his forgiveness and he'll forgive me if I really mean it. I know that God forgives me because it says in the Bible, and when he has, he's with you and he helps you doing your other work too. Once I told my friend a secret, and then a little while later then she went and told some other people, and so then she didn't really come and ask me to forgive her, but I forgave her and then we became friends again. I was glad to get over that because then we could do things together and have fun again. Sometimes I get into fights with my brother, like when one of us wants to watch one TV program, the other wants to watch the other one. There's only one TV, so you can only watch one program. Either none of you watch it, or else you sort of agree to watch that one program, and then another time you watch your other program. If my brother doesn't want to give in to watch the program I want to watch, then sometimes I just go away and do something else, like play tennis or something.
You know what just happened before I got here? A friend of mine went and spread all my customers' newspapers all over the street just when I was ready to deliver them. So that made me late.
Well, what did you do about it?
Well, at first I felt like clobbering him. But when he realized how silly he was to do it, he said sorry and helped me pick them up and deliver them. So we're still friends.
You accepted his apology then?
Yeah, I didn't want to stay mad at him, so we made up right away.
You know, there's these two people on our block. They're really trying to work things out. They go to the pizza place twice a week. She goes Mondays, he goes Fridays.
Once was a young man named Joseph. He had 10 older brothers who complained about him all the time. They were jealous because their father loved him best. As a matter of fact, they hated him so much that one day they did something awful. Here's how it happened. You see, they were shepherds. They had the job of looking after their father's large flock of animals. One day, when they were far away from home, their father decided to send young Joseph to them with some food. "Hey," someone said, "let's get rid of Joseph out there. We can rip his coat up and cover it with blood. Dad will think that a wild animal got him." The oldest of the 10 brothers didn't feel too good about that plan. "Let's throw him into a pit instead of killing him." And secretly, he was planning to come back later to rescue his brother. So that's what they did. They threw him into a hole in the ground, and he couldn't get out. Then they sat down to eat the lunch that Joseph had brought. While they were sitting there, they saw a camel caravan in the distance. It was coming toward them. "Where are you going?" they asked as it came near. "To Egypt," was the response. "Can we sell you a slave?" one of the brothers asked. "We'll give you 20 pieces of silver," said the man in charge. And they concluded the deal. And that's how their brother was sold as a slave. Their father cried when they brought him the torn, bloody coat. He thought he'd never see his son again. But things changed over the years. A very bad famine struck their land. The situation became so desperate that the brothers were sent by their father to Egypt to get some food. They met with one of the top men in the Egyptian government. If only they had known, this was none other than their younger brother Joseph. With God's help, he had worked his way up from slave to government official. But even though they recognized them, he kept his identity secret. He pretended to be very stern, and he tested his brothers to see if their attitudes had changed any. He sensed that these were not the hard men that he had known in his youth. Finally, he broke down and cried. He was so lonesome for his family. You can imagine how surprised they were when they found out that this was their long-lost brother. But they were also afraid that he would pay them back. But he forgave them. He got them to bring their father to Egypt, and there he looked after them as carefully as a brother ever could.
This is Horace, Junior Demon for Region 002 reporting, possibly for the last time. For the last time? Yes, this is a report of failure, not success. I am aware that you, my superiors, cannot tolerate failure. As you know, my assignment has been to cause misery and a feeling of loneliness in the life of case number 763-489-00-320, a girl more commonly known to her friends as Annie. She hasn't been a difficult assignment, because she seems to get herself into more trouble than I myself can get her into. This was the day I had been waiting for. Weeks of anticipation and waiting had passed. Annie and her older cousin Matilda had decided to go cycling. It was a perfect day. Miserable weather. Cold and rainy. Ideal conditions for success. Everything was going my way. Maybe it was a stroke of luck, but I sure didn't object when Matilda just happened to find her best friend at the tennis courts and decided to play with her, not realizing that Annie would feel ignored and miserable as a result. Naturally, I was delighted. It seemed as if I had nothing to do. The girls were going to do it all for me. After I reminded Annie a couple of times that this wasn't fair, that it just wasn't fair, she decided that she would be perfectly fine without them. If they didn't need her, she certainly didn't need them. Well, I'd like to take credit for putting that branch in the way of Annie's bike, but actually it had been there for some time. It did the job, though, and down she went. I thought my day was made. Matilda's radio was smashed, and I was sure there was going to be a terrible fight, and I had a ringside seat. But just when victory seemed within my grasp, when all my waiting and scheming was going to be worth it, everything fell apart. Matilda took one look at how sorry Annie really was, and had the audacity to forgive her. I couldn't believe it. It just wasn't human. In fact, it wasn't human, you see, because I know that I'd been up against a greater power than I'd counted on in the first place. At the scene of the accident, I overheard Matilda saying something about God forgiving her. Now she would do the same for Annie. You don't need to be reminded that our work rarely succeeds against that kind of opposition. Just when my day was in shambles, I saw hope for the day after all. Annie got home only to find that her little brother had broken one of her records. I gleefully waited for her to tear her little brother apart. But again I was disappointed. When her anger was about to get the best of her, she remembered that she herself had been forgiven a few hours earlier, and now had to think if she shouldn't forgive him too. I wish I could report that she didn't forgive him, but she did. And so I've been defeated twice in one day, and expect to be disciplined. Signing off, Horace. It's not fair against that kind of opposition. I mean, really, what do they expect? After all, against God?
Are you guys going to make up, or are you going to make life miserable for us, too?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, your anger spreads to everyone else, you know.
Don't blame me. She's the one who's mad.
Byron, that attitude isn't going to help us.
Yeah, I guess you're right, Harry. I'm still mad, but that won't do any good. Sorry for getting so upset, Byron.
Yeah, and I'm sorry for messing up your tape.
Oh, I feel better already, see?
Too.
When someone hurts you, you need forgiving love. When someone hates you, you need forgiving love. The loving way to live is always to forgive. 'Cause from the Lord above, we need forgiving love. When teachers hound you, you need forgiving love. When parents ground you, you need forgiving love. The loving way to live is always to forgive. 'Cause from the Lord above, we need forgiving love. When you say sorry, you need forgiving love. When there's apologies, you need forgiving love. The loving way to live is always to forgive. 'Cause from the Lord above, we need forgiving love. For peace and goodwill, you need forgiving love. To practice God's will, you need forgiving love. The loving way to live is always to forgive. 'Cause from the Lord above, we need forgiving love. Thank the Lord above for his forgiving love. Thank the Lord above for giving love.
Did you know that it's much healthier to love than to hate? To forgive than to get even? Researchers have been finding out more and more about the effects our minds can have on our bodies. Your emotional center is located in the front part of your brain. From it, nerve fibers go out to the organs of the body, so it's not hard to see that because of these connections, emotional turmoil can affect the function of the various parts of the body. For example, you can tell on some people when they feel embarrassed. Their emotional center sends messages to the blood vessels in their face and neck, telling them to open up and let in more blood. The result is what we often call a red face. When a person becomes angry, a similar thing can happen. The blood vessels swell up in the brain, causing pressure against the skull, resulting in a headache. Emotional stress can affect the muscles. When we're frightened or angry, they tend to tighten up on us, even before we consciously think about what's happening. It's not unusual for people with constant stress to have sore necks from tightened neck muscles. The nerve fibers also connect the emotional center of the brain with the glands of the body. This is why the mouth of a nervous speaker becomes parched and dry. In effect, his saliva glands have been told to slow down. It would be handy for a dentist to be able to tell the saliva glands to cease production when he works in your mouth. It's handy to have spurts of adrenaline from the adrenal gland when you need that extra push. But it's just not good to have it overproducing constantly, because this can lead to high blood pressure and other diseases. And then there's the stomach. Emotional stress in the brain can urge messages down to the stomach, causing the muscular outlet to tighten up, causing indigestion. There can be acid buildups affecting the lining of the stomach, leading to painful disorders. Let's say that you hate someone. You feel that you've been wronged and you are anxious to get even. You spend sleepless nights tossing and turning, planning strategies. You wake up in the morning tired, bitter, and unforgiving. In the meantime, that emotional center is sending urgent messages to your blood vessels, muscles, and glands. It'd be so much better for you to show love and forgiveness instead, and ever so much healthier too. It would give the emotional center of the brain the chance to send messages to the various parts of the body calling for normal activity. Like they say, it's not always what you eat, but what's eating you that makes the difference. Getting even can hurt you more than it hurts the other person.
If you guys had a phrase starting with "forgiveness is," how would you finish it?
I think forgiveness is a good idea.
Forgiveness is your hurt feelings all taped up.
Forgiveness is a good feeling.
I think forgiveness is forgetting.
Here's a letter from a Third Story viewer. It says, "Dear Third Story, I learned a lesson. One day when I came home, I was in a real bad mood, and I took it out on my little sister. Whenever she did something wrong, I told La. When I watched the show the following day, I told her I was sorry, and she said she was too. The next time I came home, I tried not to blame others. Please send me and my little sister a book."
It's nice to be forgiven when you've wronged someone. God is concerned about the wrongs we do, too, and He'd like to forgive us as well. Don't forget to ask Him. Why don't you write us and tell us what you think forgiveness is? We'd like to hear from you. Just write to The Third Story, Box 2, Station F, Winnipeg, Manitoba. That's The Third Story, Box 2, Station F, Winnipeg, Manitoba. Hey, why don't we see if we can fix up that tape, eh? Oh, it looks pretty frazzled. Oh. See if you can unwrap that, eh? Byron? Oh, gee, this is a mess.
Yes, we can.